Time for the papers now, international ones with Flo. And we're starting with the French daily Libération. It's focusing on the fate of the 200 schoolgirls. I haven't spoken about this for so long now, Flo, who were kidnapped nearly 2 years ago now by Boko Haram in northeastern Nigeria.
That's right. That happened on the night of April 14th to 15th, so just about 2 years ago. We're talking about 276 girls that were abducted from Chibok, aged between 12 and 17 years old now. Some of the girls did manage to escape, and Libération interviews some of the lucky few who escaped, and their account of their time in captivity is harrowing. You can read more about it in Libération. For instance, a 30-year-old Halima talks about her time in captivity. They insulted us and beat us up all the time. Some girls were killed, others were taken to be married by force. I was lucky. I managed to escape while they were sleeping, but the vast majority of these girls are still, it's still a mystery exactly where they are, what's happened to them, and this despite that huge movement. Remember that global Bring Back Our Girls movement? Well, the mystery still remains.
And the Islamist sect Boko Haram accused not only of targeting women, but also enrolling children as fighters.
That's right. You can read more about it once again in Libération. They have a report about how children are really on the front line. And Libé reports about the work carried out by UNICEF and an Italian NGO called COPI, which tries to stop young people from joining Boko Haram. And this article, for instance, interviews, the journalists interview a 17-year-old named Mustafa, whose brother was recruited by the Islamist group. And he says that they told his brother that they were waging a noble war, that there was a lot of money to be made. They said, if you follow us, you'll have a good life, everything you want. You'll be a leader instead of suffering all the time.
Now we're going to stay with the French press, international press review, but French story once again. Catholic paper La Croix, they're reporting on the fate of young refugees from the Calais migrant camp.
That's right. Very interesting angle in the whole refugee crisis story. Now, the La Croix interviews some of these migrants who actually have managed to make a better life for themselves. The local authorities and NGOs have reached out to hundreds of these minors that have really been left to fend for themselves. You can see the front page here, isolated minors' life after Calais. And the young man you can see in the photo here, he has a Libyan name, but Ali. He arrived in France at the age of 14, fleeing the war in Libya. He said his choice was either to be killed or to kill somebody, and he did not want to do either of those. Now, he's 18 years old now. He was naturalized, became a French citizen in September. And unlike most migrants in the region, in the Calais region, he wants to stay in France because a lot of these migrants want to go to the UK. He says, I'm lucky now to be in a country where there are values and tolerance. I can say that I'm happy. I have a happy ending.
Happy ending is extremely rare, though, isn't it?
That's right. And there's a cartoon today in China Daily which looks at the sadder side of the refugee crisis. What you can see in this cartoon here is a European authority popping the dream of a better life in Europe that's coming out of this refugee's mind here, while a Turkish policeman drags the refugee back to Turkey. This is, of course, part of the EU refugee swap deal with Turkey, which it must be said is getting a lot of criticism in the press.
Now, speaking about Turkey, the government there has asked German authorities to prosecute a comedian for performing a satirical poem about President Recep Tayyip Erdogan.
That's right. This is a very interesting story that is quite surprising, that is actually getting picked up in a lot of papers in Turkey as well. Let's take a look at an article in Hürriyet, the English language version of that paper. You can see it's focusing on how Turkish authorities have confirmed this story. On Sunday, Turkey's ambassador to Germany sent a diplomatic note to the German Foreign Office requesting that Germany criminally prosecute a comedian named Jan Bomerman. Essentially, last month, he read a poem on TV that called Erdogan a zoophile. And apparently, the Turkish president did not like that joke at all.
And the German papers are actually calling it now the Boerman Gate scandal.
That's right. It's a huge story in the German papers today. It's on the front page of all major websites, for instance. I pulled out just two articles. This, for instance, is an article in the Frankfurter Allgemeine Zeitung that talks about the debate that's been triggered about the limits of freedom of speech in Germany and in general. You can see this article is talking about satire, art, press freedom. Now, they're not unlimited. There are limits to these, to freedom, etc. But how should we deal with it when satire goes too far? Very interesting article if you read German. Another interesting piece you can read more about in Die Welt, which is focusing on how perhaps Europe is too susceptible to the moods of Turkey's president. And this article says that, sure, okay, this poem against Erdogan, it might have been tasteless, but it's really become something far more political. It's much more than just about freedom of speech. It's also about politics that comes at a very complicated time for the federal government because Germany needs Turkey, especially in this time when it's trying to deal with the refugee crisis, essentially. So the article says we need Turkey even though its government is increasingly anti-Western. But the title is interesting. It says that our freedom muscle has been out of shape, and this Böhmermann gate is certainly training it.
Good debate going on in the German papers there from Flo. Thank you very much.